All right, let's finish reading chapter 5. So we'll be beginning right here. Janie soon began to feel the impact of awe and envy against her sensibilities. The wife of the mayor was not just another woman as she had supposed. She slept with authority, and so she was part of it in the town mind. She couldn't get but so close to most of them in spirit. It was especially noticeable after Joe had forced through a town ditch to drain the street in front of the store. They had murmured hotly about slavery being over, but every man filled his assignment. There was something about Joe Starks that cowed the town. It was not because of physical fear. He was no fist fighter. His bulk was not even imposing as men go. Neither was it because he was more literate than the rest. Something else made men give way before him. He had a bow-down command in his face, and every step he took made the thing more tangible. So what we see here is that it's not only Janie who's a little unhappy with Jody. So why does the town both love and hate Jody? So in the paragraph I just read, it's beginning to explain a problem that the town has with Joe. And so as I continue reading, try to figure out this question. Why does the town both love and hate Jody? All right, let's pick back up. Take, for instance, that new house of his. It had 2 stories with porches, with banisters, and such things. The rest of the town looked like servants' quarters surrounding the big house. And different from everybody else in the town, he put off moving in until it had been painted in and out. And look at the way he painted it, a gloaty, sparkly white. The kind of promenading white that the houses of Bishop Whipple, W.B. Jackson, and the Vanderpools wore. It made the village feel funny talking to him, just like he was anybody else. Then there was the matter of the spittoons. No sooner was he all set as the mayor, postmaster, landlord, storekeeper, than he bought a desk like Mr. Hill or Mr. Galloway over in Maitland, with one of those swing-around chairs to it. What with him biting down on his cigars and saving his breath on talk and swinging around in that chair, it weakened people. And then he spit in that gold-looking vase that anybody else would have been glad to put on their front room table. Said it was a spittoon, just like his used-to-be boss man used to have in his bank up there in Atlanta. Didn't have to get up and go to the door every time he had to spit. Didn't spit on his floor neither. Had the golded up spitting pot right handy. But he went further than that. He bought a little lady-sized spitting pot for Janie to spit in. Had it right in the parlor with the little sprigs of flowers painted all around the sides. It took people by surprise because most of the women dipped snuff and of course had a spit cup in the house. But how could they know up-to-date folks was spitting in flowery little things like that? It sort of made the rest of them feel that they had been taken advantage of, like things had been kept from them. Maybe more things in the world besides spitting pots had been hid from them when they wasn't told no better than to spit in tomato cans. It was bad enough for white people, but when one of your own color could be so different, it put you on your wonder. It was like seeing your sister turn into a gator, a familiar strangeness. You keep seeing your sister in the gator and the gator in your sister, and you'd rather not. There was no doubt that the town respected him, and even admired him in a way, but any man who walks in the way of power and property is bound to meet hate. So when speakers stood up when the occasion demanded and said, "Our beloved mayor," it was one of those statements that everybody says, but nobody actually believes, like, God is everywhere. It was just a handle to wind up the tongue with. As time went on, and the benefits he had conferred upon the town receded in time, they sat on his store porch while he was busy inside, and discussed him, like one day after he caught Henry Pitts with a wagon load of his ribbon cane, and took the cane away from Pitts and made him leave town. Some of them thought Starks ought not to have done that. He had so much cane and everything else. But they didn't say that while Joe Starks was on the porch. When the mail came from Maitland and he went inside to sort it out, everybody had their say. So this brings back the theme of gossip. Sim Jones started off as soon as he was sure that Starks couldn't hear him. "It's a sin and a shame running that poor man way here like that. Colored folks oughtn't be so hard on one another." "I don't see it that way at all," Sam Watson said shortly. "Let colored folks learn to work for what they get like everybody else. Nobody ain't stopped Pitts from planting the cane he wanted to. Starks give him a job. What more did he want?" I know that too, Joan says, but Sam, Joe Starks is too exact with folks. All he got done made it off of the rest of us. He didn't have all that when he come here. Yeah, but none of all this. You see, you settin' it on wasn't here neither when he come. Give the devil his due. But now, Sam, you know all that he do is big belly round and tell other folks what to do. He loves obedience out of everybody under the sound of his voice. You can feel a switch in his hand when he's talking to you, Oscar Scott complained. That chastising villain he totes sorta gives you the procatalepsis of the culinary linen. He's a whirlwind among breezes, Jeff Bruce threw in. Speaking of winds, he's the wind and we's the grass. We bend ever which way he blows, Sam Watson agreed. But at dat us needs him. The town wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for him. He can't help being sort of bossy. Some folks need thrones and ruling chairs and crowns to make them feel the influence felt. He don't. He's got a throne in the seat of his pants. What I don't like about the man is, he talks to unlettered folks with the books in his jaws, Hicks complained. Showing off his learnin'. To look at me, you wouldn't think it. But I got a brother pastorin' up around Ocala that got good learnin'. If he was here, Joe Starks wouldn't make no fool out of him like he does the rest of y'all. I often wonder how that little wife of his is making out with him, 'cause he's a man that changes everything, but nothing don't change him. You know, many's the time I done thought about that myself. He gets on her now, and then when she makes little mistakes around the store. What make her keep her head tied up like some old women round the store? Nobody couldn't get me to tie no rag on my head if I had hair like that. Maybe he make her do it. Maybe he's scared some of the rest of us might touch it round that store. It sure is hidden mystery to me. She sure don't talk much. The way he rears and pitches in the store, sometimes when she makes a mistake, is sort of ungodly. But she don't seem to mind at all. Reckon they understand one another. So let's pause right there and kind of review what they have been gossiping about, because it has to do with Janie. So they're talking about how they feel as though Jody kind of acts as though they're better than him, and how he acts like he sits on a throne and how he's smarter than everyone. But they also bring up the fact about how he's treating Janie. So when Janie makes mistakes in the store, he'll yell at her, and he's also making Janie tie up her hair in a rag. So Janie has beautiful hair that's been kind of like a source of her power that everybody kind of looks at and admires. And so Jody's made her tie up her hair so that other people can't see it. And also they're talking about how Janie doesn't really say much. And so we get the sense that Jody has kind of put Janie in the background where she's kind of hidden herself. So let's keep reading. The town had a basket full of feelin's goods and bad about Joe's position and his possessions, but none had the temerity to challenge him. They bowed down to him rather, because he was all of these things, and then again he was all of these things because the town bowed down. So let's talk about the question of why does the town both love and hate Jody? So Jody's made their lives so much better. He's given so much with his own money, where at the beginning he bought the land and he bought the lamppost and he built the store, all with his own money. So he gave these things to the town. However, because of that, he's also made a lot of money in return. So when people buy things from the store, he gets that money. When people purchase land to build their houses on, he gets that money. And so even though he gave a lot of money up front, he's made 10 times over that amount of money afterwards. And he's arrogant and flaunts his power. And so we talked about before about how they say he seems like he has a throne in the seat of his pants. He acts like a king. He acts as though he's smarter than other people. And the fact that he acts like he is better than the other people is the reason why they resent him. And also the fact that he's possessive by making Janie tie up her hair is another thing that they don't really like to see. And so they're gossiping about him behind their back. But as the end of the chapter points out, is that none of them stand up to him because, well, it's a good question as to why they don't stand up to him. Maybe it's the fact that they're scared what would happen if he left. Maybe it's the fact that they feel as though they wouldn't actually be able to win a fight with him. But for whatever reason, Hurston points out the fact that the fact that they bow down to him makes him powerful. It's not just that he's powerful because they bow down. It's not just that they bow down because he's powerful. He's powerful because they bow down. And so it creates this paradox of like, where does power begin? And that could be another interesting thing that you complete your project on. You could kind of engage in a conversation about how people gain power. And do people gain power or do people give other people power? It's an interesting question. And so for the end of the chapter, what we want to walk away with is this question of Jody is an imperfect person, but all of the characters are imperfect in their own ways. Why do you think Hurston depicts her characters in this way? So for instance, Nanny was really harsh towards Janie in the beginning of the story, and Janie leaves Logan even though he's been fairly good to her. And here Jody is arrogant even though he's helped a lot of people. And so we see the fact that these characters in the book have both positive and negative attributes to their personality. So why do you think Hurston is depicting her characters in this way? So it's a question I'd like for you to think about and one that we can discuss in class next time I see you guys. Well, thank you so much for watching all these videos on Chapter 5, and I will see you in class. If you have any questions, feel free to email me to see me before school or to ask me in class. All right, thanks so much. Bye.